Okay. Hello, everyone. Have we actually started?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. We're recording, mate.
All right, yeah. No, I noticed that part. There was a lot of waffle going on. I just wondered if we'd actually started or not.
Well, we start in now.
Okay. Hello, everyone. How's it going? I'm Paul, and I am somewhere between a load of tiling and building some wardrobes.
I'm Martin. I am in my loft, and I'm somewhere between a mini digger and an 8-foot skip. So I'm having some building work done, so we might get interrupted. You never know.
Yeah. I know the feeling.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about this week, Martin?
Of course, we're going to be covering all the latest AI tools and news that we've come across this week.
Yeah, there's a lot, as usual.
Yeah. But, as we're trying to relate stuff back to FluxQX, which is our new startup, I thought we'd talk a little bit about, do we design entirely our own tools and platform, or do we rely on a load of other people's platforms? And
or somewhere in between.
Or somewhere in between, which is probably going to be the answer. Yeah. But,
thanks for listening. And
that's it, we're done. But to try and put that into some context is, relating it back to our old world, are we trying to build a new camera system, or are we building a new lens for a camera, or if you're doing it in a sort of audio world, are we building a new DAW, so like a new Ableton or a new Pro Tools or a new Fruity Loops, or are we trying to design a plugin or a theme or whatever it happens to be? Because they're very vastly different prospects, aren't they?
I mean, that's all over the place, isn't it? It's not just technology that people use, but there is actually a huge marketplace for anything that supports a bits of technology. I've been looking quite closely at it, and Ableton is a popular DAW, and we have, over the last few weeks, been trying to find out exactly how popular. I think it's in the millions. If you look at somewhere like Reddit, for instance, just the sort of main Ableton board has got 380,000 users, and you could consider, certainly for an older generation, Reddit as being quite fringe. Yeah. Even though it touts itself as the front page of the internet, but
Yeah, well, the weird thing is with Reddit, it's not weird. You'll know this because you've been in Reddit for ages. It's quite new to me.
Right.
Is that you spot something on Reddit, and about 3 days later, you see it on somebody's Twitter feed, and about a week later, you see it on somebody's Facebook feed, and about a week after that, you see it on the BBC.
A week? A year after that, I think, on the BBC.
Yeah, maybe. But as you alluded to, Paul, it's not quite as clear-cut as build your own tools versus use a service, is it?
No.
There's this like weird middle ground of like open source stuff.
Yeah.
And the way I understand it is somebody's put a load of research into building something that does something. So a popular example of this might be the Android operating system, which, if you've got an Android phone, that's what it's running on. Google have gone ahead and built this Android operating system and then said to anybody else, use it if you want.
Yeah. I mean, this does hark back to the promise of the internet, doesn't it? All knowledge should be free and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And, so people are just sticking stuff out there. It's wonderful and also absolutely frustrating. I was going to use a bad word then.
But it also seems to fly in the face of business. I've built this amazing thing, spent loads of money doing it. Yeah. Anyone can use it for free now.
Yep.
And you've been experiencing that with Stable Diffusion, haven't you? Which is an image generation tool.
As with anything open source, if you have a question about how to do something, there are hundreds of answers. And, not all of them are right. Not everything is up to date because the people tend to stick stuff out and, I'll deal with the documentation later. It's particularly when it comes to updates, and you'll find halfway through doing something, so you get an hour into a tutorial trying to work out how, none of it is relevant anymore, and it's all changed.
Yeah.
So, it comes with frustration.
But I'd say there's like weird, there's like I suppose there's weird hybrids of like free software, and I suppose relating it to our old world, like Blender would be an example of that, a free piece of 3D software that you can use, fully functional.
Yeah.
Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
Although that is changing.
They had that commercial model, though, didn't they? If you were using it for commercial purposes, am I right?
It used to be after you've made 100,000 quid.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
They then started charging. So they were saying, just use this product until you've made a load of money.
Yeah.
But they're changing that at the moment.
See, in a business sense, that's about market share, isn't it?
Yeah. Having watched the 2 videos he just sent me,
Oh.
mainly the one about WeWork, that's a whole other episode. That's
That is a whole episode. We should touch on that, though.
Yeah, but my God, WeWork is a shared office space, which is relevant because we've been using shared office spaces, and they are probably the pioneer or the best known of that world. Yeah. But there's this awesome video which we will link, which is literally which is about how you can grow a company reputably worth 40 billion quid and not make a penny's profit. Yet, as the founder, you walk away with 750 million quid.
So, yep.
Let's do that, Paul. Let's do that. Just so to bring it back round to our central theme, which I'm going to try and do, it seems like there's kind of 3 main routes to think about, which is build everything from scratch.
Yep.
So build your own software, your own systems, and own them, generating value in your company. There's the other end of that, which is don't build anything, just use everybody else's platforms and, pay for them. And then in the middle, there's this weird open source world where you're kind of using a piece of software that somebody else has paid for, but then adding your value by changing it a bit.
The weird thing about the open source software, there's lots of paid stuff around it. The core of it might be free.
Yeah.
But, you can buy various add-ons or templates, or even somebody may have written a workflow and you charge for that. I mean, there is in Stable Diffusion, there's a world of like paying for prompts or prompt techniques, and
this is happening in a lot of different places, that people are building products on top of open source software and charging for access to it. So they're essentially taking somebody's software, which they've spent millions, I imagine, developing, and then they're using that software and making money off the top of it, but Stable Diffusion don't get anything. That I can't wrap my head around.
No.
But it's great that it exists.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to have done our preamble there, Paul. So we're just going to take a quick sting and then we'll tell you what we've been up to this week.
Okay.
I haven't prepped it to play it in.
I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, wait. Oh, all right. I'm going to have to set it up again. God, I'm not doing very well today. I had the same kind of morning. Everything is fighting with me today. I found the sting. Here we go. Here's the sting.
After years of analog success,
lifelong media vets Martin and Paul
are entering the digital unknown.
The tech-naive duo will either adapt
or become obsolete.
Join these plucky, wisecracking founders
as they document the genuine struggles of using machine learning.
Will artificially intelligent guides rocket them to digital disruption?
Or will the learning curve squash their scrappy moxie?
Stay tuned for the triumphant failures of 2 savvy dinosaurs
striving to evolve on the meat puppets.
So, what have you been up to this week, Paul?
We've been looking at selling some products on an existing marketplace. I think I've said that right.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Gumroad, which is an established marketplace in the world of pretty much DAW people, audio people, music
DAW
producers.
stands for Digital Audio Workstation.
It does indeed. We've been looking at how you sell some things on there. We are in the process of creating our own shop, but as if you've been listening, we are quite new to this digital sales world. We thought it would be a good idea to not do products and the shop at the same time and kind of dip our toes in the water a little bit. and find out what kind of things we'll be facing. And by that, I mean, hopefully interactions with customers and how digital download works, what kind of feedback you'll get. So it's sort of like a trial run.
Is this like us taking a market stall in an afternoon at Stockport Market as opposed to deciding to build the Trafford Centre?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it might even be a car boot sale, but yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's one. It will give us a little bit more time to develop the shop. It might be a faster route to market, and as mentioned, we will be getting used to dealing with. I'm going to call them digital customers.
Yeah,
customers that we don't see in person.
They call them users, don't they, in the digital world?
They do. User personas. This, yes.
You know the only other industry that calls their customers users?
No, go on.
Drug dealers.
Oh, that's a good point.
It's just an observation.
Yeah.
So what we're doing really is doing a bit of, if we're going to put it into marketing speak, is we're kind of testing the market, getting some products out there quickly and see what the market reaction is.
Correct. Yeah.
And we'd have the added bonus of potentially actually generating some revenue.
Yes.
Which, out of the stuff I'm watching, is apparently something you don't do in the digital world. Don't make revenue.
Yeah. I know. Don't do that. It's a stupid idea. You just bang on about how big your company is and how wonderful it's going to be,
and we'll work out how to make some profit later.
Yeah.
And I can kind of understand that, because if you get a big enough market share, you only kind of need to cut your costs by 0.5% to make a load of money.
Yeah.
And if you haven't got a big market share, then cutting your costs by 0.5% is not really going to make any difference. So I do get that, but it does feel really alien.
It feels really strange, especially when the metric is growth and growth only, and you're thinking you're growing something that doesn't make a profit, so you're growing your loss. Okay, let's do it.
Well, I should say, alongside that, we are building some tools to help us with the process, to help us with our internal processes.
We are,
and we've got a couple of those going. So, and like I know this week that you were trying to generate some themes as a product. By themes, I mean how the product looks, which can sound really silly, but it does make a big difference when you use it every day. It
does. And there's also a whole thing of like, I want my thing to look cool. I think it's a lot of that is based in games where you will customize your character and all the rest of it, and you just
reskinning. I believe that's called.
Yeah, exactly that. So
but didn't you build a tool to help you make the themes?
Well, I didn't build it, Jake did, but yeah. It was so one of the file that generates the theme in the software was a little bit impenetrable. It basically just a long list with hexadecimal color values in it, if people aren't familiar with that, representing a color on a screen, or particularly a computer screen. There is a little 6-digit code that tells your browser or whatever to show this color. And it was just a big list of those with some impenetrable names. So I asked Jake if it would be possible to build a little editor for us that would show it in a more sensible way and also give us a nice big block of colour so you can get a feel for it, which he did. He kind of knocked together in a couple of days, really. That could end up being a product that we put out there. It's not, the theme thing itself at the moment is not the prettiest, but it works, and that's the main part.
Yeah, and we've done that with a couple of things, and I suppose that is part of the mentality we're trying to do. Is every challenge we're facing, we're building a process or hopefully a digital tool to help us do that in a better or quicker way.
Yeah.
And eventually we'll be releasing those as tools.
That's it, yeah.
Because other people will be trying to do what we're doing. Or maybe, Paul, what we should do is give them away for free to get a market share.
Yeah, maybe we should. I'll just talk it up, assign a value to it, and then chuck maybe 3 or 4 notes on the end of that.
That's correct. What's your company worth? What can you say without breaking into a sweat? The company's worth 20 billion. No, can't say that. Oh, yeah. Very weird. Very weird. So you introduced me to something that completely consumed my weekend, Paul.
I did.
You introduced me to a thing called Notion, which sounds like it is apparently the most exciting topic I can think of is relational databases.
Ooh.
Woo! But essentially, it's a project management tool, much like people might be familiar with Monday.com or
Trello.
What's the other one? Asana.
Slack.
Exactly. It's another one of those. But I do have to say, it's the best one that I've personally come across.
I think we might be experts on this because we have used them all over the years.
Yeah, this is true. I mean, you do need a project management tool, and the challenge is that you don't spend all your time filling in your project management tool rather than doing your projects.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't want to lose control of your projects because you haven't got any project management.
Yeah, and the other thing, I think that Notion so far is that it looks a lot like, although at quite early days, that we won't have to use much, if not anything else, as in you can go here and it will all be here.
Yeah. And the thing that I got really excited about, I'm getting excited about related databases. Relational databases. I can't believe what has happened to me. Not excited about film releases anymore.
No.
Not excited about a new camera. I'm excited about relational databases. But what I feel that's really good about Notion, and I'm probably going to be proved wrong over the weeks ahead, but anyway, is that it feels like we're putting data into something that's going to be genuinely useful.
Yeah.
Rather than throwing it onto Google Drive and not knowing what to do with it after that, or writing it down in a notepad or storing it in my loft.
And quite a few ways to wrangle that data. We do have our software developer having a look at what we can do. So we might even be doing some of our own front ends with this as well. So
Anyway, let's move on to some AI news, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's go and talk about some AI news. Right, I've got my sting lined up now. Right, we'll go get on some AI news, Paul. Let's do that.
Let's do that.
Bit of a harsh cut off there, but there you go.
Well, you know, it's a new
Right,
world.
I've got a massive list of stuff that's happened this week.
It's a big list. Again.
I think we should probably cherry pick and bump some stuff till next week.
Yeah. No, I was going to say a few of these things are pretty much the same thing. You could group them all into... I'm not going to steal your thunder. Go on, go for it.
Well, you know, I just thought about... Whilst we're talking about open source versus using other people's tools versus building your own...
Yeah.
I've always thought that all the tools that we used to use, so like video editor software, digital audio workstations, you know, motion graphics software, I was like, unless they get onto this AI thing, they are screwed, is what I've been thinking.
Yeah.
And you've seen little implementations in things like Resolve. They've put little things in there like automated caption generation, and After Effects has got some little bits. Photoshop has done some kind of generative AI, generative image fill. But I do have to say my biggest thing this week is Adobe, who do loads of different software for video generation and graphics. I've just gone, we're going all in on AI.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they've got a whole raft of stuff that's available now and a load of stuff that they say is coming.
It was all announced in Adobe Max, right?
Which is their like annual event.
Yeah.
Where they go, this is what we're doing. This is the cool stuff.
We're amazing.
Yeah. And I've been quite negative about Adobe products generally.
Yeah.
Because this does seem like they've gone, okay, AI's happening. We want to own this space. And I don't see anybody else in like traditional video tools world going anywhere near it.
Oh, you know, I did speak to an old friend of ours, Steve, who's doing an AI graphics course.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's good news.
That's good news.
That's a change, that.
That's a change, yeah.
Maybe he's been listening to this, Paul.
We did say podcast seems to be going well, so you never know. Yeah.
Maybe we've changed some minds. Anyway, first product, they've updated Adobe Premiere, And you have been able to, for a while now, generate captions automatically in Premiere. You know, it scans the audio, much like Descript does, which is what we use to edit this podcast at the moment.
Yeah.
And then generates it into some captions, you know, which takes a load of legwork out of having to do it, having to transcribe it. But now they've implemented a feature where you can edit your video via the text document.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. Descript has been doing it for years, but it's the first time I've seen something like that inside a product like this. Resolve does it as well, but this is probably the smallest of their announcements. So I'm going to go on to the two biggest ones, I think. If you do graphics at all, Adobe Illustrator is to do with vector graphics.
Yep.
And up till now, everything I've seen in terms of generative AI has been about generating pixels.
Yeah.
So it generates an image, and it's usually a pretty low-res image, which for online use is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But this is about essentially text to vector.
Yeah. Pretty special, actually.
I don't know if you've seen the demo of this, Paul.
Yes,
I haven't jumped into Illustrator yet to give it a go.
No.
But, so you can just write some text and it will generate you a vector-based image based on your text input. You can also do image and text to vector. So you can drop in an image and go, I like the style and colours of this image. Generate me a new vector image based on this. So let me try and give a real world example. So say like you really like the poster to Fight Club. I'll go in Fight Club and David Fincher again because I'm kind of obsessed. So say you like that picture. So get the poster to Fight Club. Then go generate me a new poster for Skipping Club. Don't know why. Skipping Club based on this. And then it'll generate you a vector-based image which looks like the David Fincher poster for Fight Club, but is about your new film, Skipping Club.
Yeah.
But the benefit of this is vector images can be infinitely scaled. There's no kind of resolution to vectors.
No.
So there's no limitation. You could use this a mile wide and a mile high, or a centimetre wide and a centimetre high, and it'd be the same quality.
Yep.
And the second thing about this is that it's completely editable.
Yeah.
So if you suddenly wanted to make something bigger within that image, you can do that using your traditional tools. Whereas if you're using generative images that create pixel-based images, you can't do that. This is a massive game changer. Yeah. And I can see the world we used to work in adopting this very quickly.
We used to sit in the middle between designers, shall we say, so graphic designers, motion designers, etc., and clients, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it also feels like that clients can be using directly because this is project briefs as well, though, isn't it? I was thinking about logo design when I was looking at it and all the rest of it. It's like, you just do it directly.
Well, so relating it back to us as well, it's just like icon design.
Yeah.
And another part of it, which I haven't actually mentioned, is font design.
Yeah.
So you can hand draw a few letters of a font and ask it to generate you any text in that style of font.
Yeah. And that's been a big job in the past, hasn't it?
I genuinely think that is going to be one of the biggest changes in, like, if you like, in the non-AI world.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to jump on that.
Yeah.
But while we're talking about that, we talked about copyright before, there's a little side announcement they made as well, which is they're trying to push this new standard. So they want to encourage everybody to use a symbol on their images to say that it's AI generated.
Yep. What is it? CR?
It's CR, which weirdly stands for Content Credentials.
Right. I was trying to work that bit out, what it was for. I couldn't see it. But anyway, okay.
I should say everything we're talking about, there's links in the description, by the way.
Yes.
So you can go and see it all, because I know we're talking about image stuff in an audio format.
Yeah, again.
Well,
this is what happens when video people do a podcast, man.
Well, we're trying it, aren't we?
Yeah.
But yeah, see our content credentials.
I believe Google did it as well.
So I haven't seen that from Google, actually.
It's mentioned, actually, and it'll be mentioned in the same article. But,
right.
Yeah. I've forgotten what their logo is, though.
Oh, the two different logos.
Yeah, as ever. Different standards.
Oh, open source. Oh, I know. I can't see anyone ever doing it. I don't know about you, what you think. But
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it seems to be after the conversation we had last week. Will AI be able to spot? Will you be able to tell?
Yeah, that was
the
last
week
week
before, wasn't it?
No, that was last week. That was
last week. Okay. Yeah. It seems that this is the answer.
The answer is to manually tell everyone that you're doing it.
Yeah.
And that means there'll be no more fake news.
No, there'll
I'm
be
being
no more
sarcastic.
fake TikTok profiles or fake Instagram profiles, honestly.
You'll be able to just look for the CR logo.
Yeah.
And you'll know. So problem solved.
Yeah, exactly that.
And that is all. It's not all of the Adobe announcements, but it's the major one. Now, they do something else when they do Adobe Max. They make loads of announcements about stuff that's coming up that isn't in products now, but to kind of get you excited for the future.
Yeah.
And here's a few of those. Obvious pickup.
I love it. Keep that in.
If you listen to this, we recorded the stuff that you're about to hear, the Adobe stuff. We recorded this much later, and this is a pickup to make it seamlessly fit in to the bit that you just listened to. Adobe, I always get that wrong. They made loads of announcements for future stuff. I always hate this, like available in a future firmware update or coming in a new, But Adobe Max, they teased a load of stuff, which I think for our old industry and like the guys we used to work with, this is going to be game changing. And there's a few, but let me just highlight them really quickly because these aren't out in products yet, but Adobe said it's on their roadmap.
Yep.
So, Project Fast Fill. That is generative fill, which I think we're all familiar with. Draw around an area, tell it what you want to be in there, and it generates it.
Yep. A nice looking tie.
Exactly, yeah. Generative fill for video.
Yeah.
And you're right, exactly the thing that they show is guy walking down some stairs. Oh, he's forgotten to put his tie on.
Yeah.
So you draw a tie-shaped thing with your mouse, and you write, fill with silk tie.
Yeah.
And then it generates a silk tie. And it actually gives you 3 options of a silk tie.
Yeah.
And then he walks down the stairs with his tie on now.
Yeah. It's impressive that. I mean, we don't know if we're looking at an actual thing, but it's impressive the way it deals with the lighting and all the rest of it.
I think it'd be fair to say, Paul, we've made enough product videos in our time to know that when you make the product video, the product might not be ready.
That's true.
And you may have to imagine what the product might do.
Yes.
We're not saying that Adobe's done this.
We're not saying that at all, are we? No, not even slightly.
So from the simplest thing of painting out a logo, because you're on the BBC, so you've got to paint out logos. You're not allowed to have undue prominence to logos.
Yeah.
That was a job for somebody.
It was, yeah.
That's just a click, if this is to be believed.
Long-winded job as well.
Yeah,
700
absolutely.
frames or something. Oh, my word.
Absolutely. Okay, another one they've got coming up is Project Scene Change. So this is about compositing.
Yeah.
And the way they demo this is they have a really big wide shot, which is like a tracking shot of some glorious looking gardens. Yeah. And they've got a green screen shot of somebody walking.
Yeah.
And what this does intelligently is from a 2D image, creates a 3D point cloud. So it's like, does a fake 3D track on the image.
Yeah.
Works out how big the person should be and composites them into the scene. Yeah. And then they've got Project Stardust. So Project Stardust is like, it is generative fill, but with really good object detection. And the way I can think this is relevant. So if you could write the text without having to like select the area by going, change the jacket to a suit jacket. And it'd use object detection to go, where's the jacket in the picture? It would select the jacket and change it.
Yep.
So it's taking even more steps out of the loop.
Yep.
So if those things are coming to Adobe, it may make me want to renew my subscription. I do have to say.
I know. I've just got rid of mine a couple of weeks ago. I think we talked about it last time.
Yeah.
I was looking at it myself going, oh. Yeah, you now need to do a seamless out.
So, the crazy announcements at Adobe, Paul.
Crazy announcements, weren't they, them?
Seamless pickup inserted, no one ever knew.
Did you see that Warner Brothers signed their first AI artist?
I did not see that, no.
I think we'll chat about it another time. It's just something I saw very quickly this morning. So there's a lot of argument about whether it is actually AI or not.
Oh,
But anyway.
put that on next week's podcast. Put that on next week's podcast list. I'm interested in that.
Yeah.
That's called a tease. A tease to next week's podcast.
Yes. Exciting.
So while we're talking about copyright, another big gun has come out and said, we're going to defend you if you generate content using our AI tools and someone comes after you for copyright.
Yeah.
And that is Google.
Yeah.
So Google have come out now, Adobe have come out now, and Microsoft have come out. So they're digging their heels in, aren't they?
They are.
So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out, considering that you still can't copyright an AI image by law. That's not a thing. And all the artists are still trying to sue all of the generative AI people.
It's all American big tech, though, isn't it? I've got a feeling that will bump into the EU and other places. That's going to, it's happened before.
But what big tech companies are there in the EU?
No, not that. I mean,
it's going to bump into EU law. I get you.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah.
I was trying to think of a big. It's a big UK generative AI company. Oh, Cambridge Analytica.
Let's not go there.
Anyway. Right, we're going to go on. So I was going to jump onto something. While we're talking about copyright.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about the writers' strike in the US.
Yes.
Last week, and that it's kind of finished.
Yes.
But it's only the writers who've come off strike.
Yeah.
I was looking into this again this week, and the actors are still out. And they're trying to push this thing called the No Fakes Act. I'll say that again. No Fakes Act.
Yeah.
And I looked into it. I actually looked at the wording of the act, and it isn't actually an acronym. It's the biggest acronym in the world. That's a grand claim. It's not, but it's an acronym. Do you want to know what it stands for?
I do. Go on. I can't wait.
It stands for Nurture Originals, Foster Art, and Keep Entertainment Safe.
How long did that take them?
I know, and they've missed the and. They've just decided the and bit can just be missed. So, Nurture Originals, Foster Art, Keep Entertainment Safe. I know why they've done that. It sounds very chantable.
Yeah.
Nurture Originals, Foster Art, Keep Entertainment Safe.
I can hear them in the street now waving the banners around. No fake.
I know, it's not like a football chant, is it? The words are a bit...
No.
Nurture Originals, please. If that's all right with you.
Oh, yeah.
But actually reading it, right, I went through and read the legals of it. So they've put this act forward and said there should be a part of every contract going forward. And again, Paul, you deserve credit. They're essentially saying what we discussed when we were talking about voiceover licensing.
Yeah.
They're basically saying that if anyone uses their likeness or their voice, then they have to pay a license and they need to give informed consent.
Yeah.
Which seems really reasonable to me.
Yeah. And a fantastic
obvious.
opportunity to earn loads of money with only doing a little bit of work.
So what you should have done, Paul, is got in touch with them before they went on strike and just go, this is the way you should do it.
Yeah.
And then there would be no need for this massive acronym.
Yeah. Yeah, and to save the world that pain.
But you sent me something yesterday, though, that was...
No, while that's going on.
Yeah, but you sent me something yesterday that is this implemented.
It is.
So tell us about that.
So there's a game released a few years back, 2020, I think, called Cyberpunk. Huge game, big splash. Keanu Reeves was in there, I believe.
Yeah.
And in Cyberpunk, I'll give it its full title, Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, the gamers, if they're listening, will appreciate that, Paul.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, I know, because they go a little bit mad, don't they? If you don't
Yeah.
get it right. Anyway, there was one of the characters in there was a Ripper Doc, and Ripper Docs were they do your augmentations. It was all about actually, as you can guess, like with Cyberpunk, it was about augmenting your body with processors and robotics and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
So one of these Ripper Docs names was Victor Vector. Played by the actor. Are you ready for this pronunciation?
Good luck.
Miłogość Recek, I think.
I'm going to say that's right, Paul.
Okay, good.
I don't know really, but that's right. Yeah, well done.
Sorry to anybody who's Polish. I'm probably butchered that, but there you go. And he unfortunately died. So there's been an update since to the game, and there's new storylines. So as part of the new storylines, there was more conversation with Victor.
I believe that's the Phantom Liberty expansion.
That's the Phantom Liberty expansion, yep. And so to get around this, they used AI voice, which is pretty much what we did last week. They trained a model and gave him some new speech. And
I suppose the most important thing here is that the family signed off on it.
And there was payments.
So this has like this and the No Fakes Act. I'm going to say that loads of times just because it makes me laugh. The No Fakes Act. You can fight against it, but it has really big implications. Like speaking in like purely like financial way, your likeness and your voice are now becoming a revenue generating asset well beyond your ability to generate revenue with it in a natural way.
Yeah.
I think we saw that with Bruce Willis as well, didn't we?
Yeah.
He was in an advertising campaign, but he didn't turn up.
This is the part I don't understand. It's a bit like, I was thinking about it in context of, bands always used to clamour after a Christmas number one.
Yeah.
So you end up on those playlists. This is the kind of attitude I think all these voice actors should have, you know what I mean?
He's like, generate a character that no one ever wants to see disappear.
Yeah.
Make sure there's enough content for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, and keep going.
So whilst we're talking about that, I'm going to jump on to 11 Labs. They've got some news out this week.
Yeah.
And they've got a new service out, which I'm trying to figure out the best way of describing this. So it's called 11 Labs Language Dubbing Feature, the first generative speech synthesis platform.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, so 11 Labs have an AI-generated voice. And we did cover it last week, if you want to go back and have a listen, where I trained my voice in 11 Labs, and I can just type in, and then it'll speak kind of like a drunk me. I think is the easiest way of describing it.
Which one's my voice model in? I've forgotten.
Your models, your model's in Descript.
Oh, yes.
So this new service the idea is, and we've done this because we used to do loads of TV ads for the gaming industry, is that you need to create local language versions of marketing assets. I think that's the main market for this.
Yeah.
But what this service does is you take your finished ad, which is probably voiceover led, although they do say it'll work with characters as well, and you upload it to them. You pick the language you want it to be in, and it basically matches the style, the tone, and the timing of any voices in the video clip that you upload it. Change the language. So you are speaking in the foreign language.
Amazing.
It's not you. The voiceover is in the foreign language.
Yeah.
So, which is crazy because I've done a lot of dubbing in my time. And what I find weird about it is I don't think I've ever done any dubbing where the language you're changing to fits in the space of the video that you've got in the English language.
No.
And because the English language in itself is mad.
Yeah.
And all languages really differ in terms of the style and tone. I thought this is a really difficult thing to do.
It's amazing, actually. Yeah.
So I thought I'd give it a blast, and I got really excited when I saw it, actually. I just thought, I've got to go and try this out. So what I thought, first of all, we needed was a advert to try it on. I thought I'd do a fictional advert to get us out of copyright.
Oh, I was hoping you'd say it's our new product. But
No, well, it might be, Paul. It's a fictional product for something that can't exist. Of course, I got a large language model to write it for me. And then I got a good friend, Andy, who's a voice actor, to see if he'd record it. I thought I'd try and give it its best chance. I thought I'm going to give it a well-recorded, well-delivered voice.
Yep.
So, do you want to hear the original ad? So this is the original UK ad that we created for a fictional product called The Future Loop. Here it comes.
The future's coming. Meet it head-on with The Future Loop. These revolutionary glasses use predictive AI to show you the world 30 seconds early in stunning 4K resolution. Built-in sensors scan your surroundings for a 99.9% accurate glimpse ahead. Dodge danger. Detect opportunities, win arguments. The possibilities are endless. Be the first to react and take advantage with The Future Loop for only £2,000. The future's already here. You just can't see it yet. But with The Future Loop, the future is now.
There we go. Suitably cheesy radio ad.
It's amazing. I could just say I love the way Andy says AI.
I know. So Andy is of Greek heritage, and I thought I'd try and get it done in Greek and send it back to him. I'm not going to play that because it's the first one I tried, and I don't know if the model's not quite there yet, but half of it was still in English.
Right, yeah.
So I don't know if it was just oversubscribed, but I thought give 11 Labs a fair go, and I thought I'd try something like French. Do you want to hear that ad in French?
I do.
Here we go.
L'avenir arrive. Faites-lui face avec The Future Loop. Ces lunettes révolutionnaires utilisent l'IA prédictive pour vous montrer le monde 30 secondes à l'avance en résolution 4K époustouflante. Les capteurs intégrés analysent votre environnement pour un aperçu précis à 99,9%. Danger de dodge. Détectez les opportunités. Gagnez les arguments. Les possibilités sont infinies. Soyez le premier à réagir et à en profiter avec le futur. Boucle pour seulement 2000 arrays. Le futur est déjà là. Vous ne pouvez simplement pas le voir encore. Mais avec la boucle du futur, le futur est maintenant.
I'll stop it.
Yeah.
And I've got no idea whether that was French. So I have done some Spanish versions as well. Do you want to listen to it in Spanish, Paul?
Yeah.
Here's the Spanish.
El futuro se acerca. Enfréntalo de frente con The Future Loop. Estos anteojos revolucionarios utilizan IA predictiva para mostrarte el mundo 30 segundos antes, en impresionante resolución 4K. Los sensores incorporados escanean tu entorno para darte una visión precisa del 99.9% del futuro. Esquiva el peligro. Detecta oportunidades. Gana argumentos. Las posibilidades son infinitas. Sé el primero en reaccionar y aprovechar el futuro. Bucle por solo 2000.
So, I mean, it sounds good to me.
It's outrageous. You can just say that, Martin. That's the first time I've heard it in good quality. You played it on the phone during the week.
Yeah.
And actually, Andy's voice, the tone and everything, it's pretty astounding.
Considering that when we trained Andy's voice on 45 minutes worth of dialogue, it didn't sound anywhere near as good as that.
I know, yeah. We should use Andy's model to create an ad and then translate that.
Okay, yeah. I should have done that in the first place. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So, because I don't speak French or Spanish, because I'm a stupid Brit, I thought I'd send it off to some people who do speak those languages.
Yes.
And I've got a little bit of feedback. And these were his exact words. It's South American Spanish. Castilian is probably better. Totally understandable. So, that seems pretty good to me.
I worked well. Yeah, I'm blown away.
Yeah, and then we also sent it off to a French speaker. Future Loop. So it struggles to decide if Future Loop is a brand name or words to be translated. So it does a mixture of both, but it's understandable. A bit squiffy. It does literal translations sometimes for sayings rather than giving you the natural French. But then you get that with Google Translate too. Sounds like a 40-year-old with French of a 16-year-old, if that makes any sense, which is totally passable and understandable. Hope that helps.
Yeah.
So it's not perfect, and you wouldn't expect it to be perfect.
No.
But I think this ties into something else. It is like, it's never really the best option that wins out the market, is it? It's the one that's good enough.
Yeah, if the information comes across, you know.
And it really ties in with what we've been talking about. You know, one of the main things of advantages of being an AI business, being a digital business, is that you've got a global audience.
Exactly, yeah.
And we've really started thinking about, when we're getting towards launching our first products, about how it comes across in different markets.
Yeah.
And, you know, the arrogant opinion has been English is the international language of business. Therefore, stick it in English. Everyone will speak English anyway.
Yeah. And
I think that's a goner.
That could be about to change, yeah. And also, just reach. The amount of translations. I don't know how many languages are available at launch.
A lot. That's what I would say. A lot.
But the expense of doing an advert like that for a small company like us would be astronomical and just not worth it. So when you talk about which model wins out, well, the fact that even if we get a somewhat garbled message out there, or something that's, you know, like the French translation, it's certainly good enough for us.
It's weird, isn't it? Because in our old life, because that was so expensive to do and difficult to do, we got loads of work out of doing translations of other people's products.
Indeed, we did, yeah.
But on this side, it was like, God, that's too... I suppose if this kind of service wasn't available, we wouldn't even think of doing it. You just dismiss it and go, it's too expensive, we're not doing it.
And we're going to put our trust in it as well. But, you know, well, we kind of did that in the past, because I do remember mixing various language versions of and editing various language versions of some adverts and not actually knowing what I'm listening to. But
yeah, it's a bizarre experience, isn't it?
It is a bizarre experience, yeah. I did want to say, actually, that dubbing films, that will be huge as well. I can't imagine that that's that far away, you know.
So I was going to try this out. So apparently it will detect up to like 15 characters in a clip.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I mean, I generally can't cope with dubbing, but, you know...
my missus is the same.
Yeah.
Subtitles all the way.
Yeah, subtitles generally for me, but it'll definitely be worth a try. If anybody's ever had the pleasure of watching any Polish dubbed films, it's a very strange thing. When Poland was behind the Iron Curtain, as the saying goes, obviously there was a lot of films released in the West that were not available over there, but they used to pirate them, and there was a huge trade in dubbing them. But of course, they didn't have the non-dialogue versions, you know, to dub, so they'd just do it over the top anyway. And,
like a news report.
Like a news report, yeah, with the other speech going on. But that tradition kind of remains, and is still available. And there's quite a few actors in Poland who were, say, the Polish Sylvester Stallone or the Polish Arnold Schwarzenegger, and their voices have become popular. They're going to lose out.
Amazing. Amazing. But then, you know, there is something about that. So, obsessed with films, Terminator 2. In fact, Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger, I'll be back. I almost went for the accent, but then stopped halfway through. He's Austrian, isn't he?
Yes.
And so he wanted to do the dubbed voice for the German language version or Austrian language version.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let him do it because his accent in that country is like our West Country accent.
Well,
so he's got like a farmer's accent. But like to us, he's like a robot because we met him as like the Terminator or Barbarian or whatever. But that'll be like, "Oh, you'll be back, my lover," and it's how it would come across to them. And it'd just be really interesting to think of how this language change. You know, does it take that kind of stuff into account?
Yeah.
Because if it retains your style and tone, what to us is like a Hollywood A-lister like evil voice,
Yeah.
tough guy is like, we'll be back, my lover. Give me your clothes, your boots, and your motorcycle. Maybe it'd be a better film. Maybe it'd be a better film.
Martin, can I just ask you, how quick was it?
It was, for that's a 40-second ad.
Yeah.
It took 1:57.
Yeah, wow, it's fast.
And it's not the most polished of things, but there is, I'll put it in the link in the description. I did a tutorial where you can see it in real time.
Right. Yeah.
And it is really, really quick.
Yeah. Because
I mean,
one thing I'm definitely wondering about is how far away do you think that would be from real time? Because that's a definite game changer.
It is. What's that thing called? A babelfish.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I mean, that will really put the nail in the coffin for English as the business language.
Yeah. That's a fair comment. That's a fair. I mean, the rate that everything else is going at is probably not far off.
No.
Right, and probably the last story we're going to do. So our predictions come out to say that AI is going to be dead in 2024.
I don't believe it.
Analysts predict AI is overhyped. Generative AI will get a cold shower in 2024.
Yeah.
So I did think, this may be a thing. It's like we have given up a profitable business to go all in this digital world with a lot enabled by AI. We're kind of thinking we'd have to be a much bigger team if we didn't have AI to help us.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, we're about to have the rug pulled from under us. But then I looked at a quote from a guy called Clifford Stoll from Newsweek in 1995.
Oh, yeah.
And here is quote. Hardware and software will top out in the mid-90s, and thus the internet will never, ever get any more user-friendly or portable. Also, it's different and scary.
Well done, Clifford.
Well done, Clifford.
Where is he now, Clifford?
I don't
Still
actually
figuring
know,
out
Paul.
AOL.
I don't know. So he's asking Jeeves. We should. He might still be big, Paul. We should be careful.
Yeah, sorry, Clifford.
I'm sorry, Clifford.
Yeah.
Apparently, he's very good humoured about it.
All right. Okay. Good.
But the article was entitled "Hype Alert: Why Cyberspace Isn't and Will Never Be Nirvana." And the title of this article: "Overhyped generative AI will get a cold shower in 2024."
Right.
Analysts predict. Digging down into the detail of it, one of these analysts is well into his 90s.
Oh, okay.
And I know that maybe people, as you get older, you have difficulty changing and getting into new stuff.
I've just had a quick look at Clifford.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's selling stuff online.
Clever lad.
blown glass Klein bottles.
Give him 2 years, he'll get onto drop shipping.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh, wait a minute. He stores his inventory in the crawl space underneath his home in Oakland, California. You ready for this?
Go on.
And accesses it when needed with a homemade miniature robotic forklift.
Amazing. What a guy. What a guy.
Oh, go on.
I love that. When you said crawl space, I thought that was like a new database system.
No, it's a literal crawl space. And he's got a mini robot. Amazing.
Okay. I'd love to say that is all the AI news for this week. It isn't. There's loads more, but it's all we're going to cover.
Yeah.
But there is loads more. But still all happening. We're going to go rather clunkily. I need to get these right. But next time I'm going to have these on my Stream Deck, Paul. I'm trying to go for a sting, and we're going to go for a sting. So, just so everyone knows, all the links to everything we talked about will be in the description or the show notes for this.
Yep.
So you can go and have a look for yourself. Okay, so what we're talking about is build your own everything from scratch, own your own everything, control your own everything, or pay for somebody else's platform and then build your value on top of that, or use a free open source platform and then build your own value on top of that. Kind of seems like three distinct options there. And I'm not saying one's better than the other, but what makes me think about like people like Adobe, who are so big, got so much leverage and so much capital. How, as a small startup, are you ever going to compete against something like that? How are you meant to compete with people who are building all these big platforms?
I think you do what we talked about earlier, which is add some notes onto the end of your valuation.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
But the downside of that is, I remember we used to use Adobe After Effects and for graphics, and all our graphics were stored in a particular style of video, particular sort of technical format.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, one day, Adobe decided we're not going to support that anymore.
Yeah.
And because we'd had to update everything, suddenly our entire archive of video animations no longer worked in the software that we were using.
Well, that does relate, I think, to what you were talking about before, actually, about what these people are using in the background, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't that a legal wrangling about licensing in the background?
It wasn't, Apple decided to drop QuickTime.
Oh, Apple. That was it. Sorry, I confused with something else. Yeah, you're absolutely right, yeah.
So Adobe used QuickTime to encode this animation codec. Apple suddenly decided we're not doing QuickTime anymore.
Yeah.
And suddenly all support was gone.
Yeah.
And that's a real danger, I think.
Yeah,
and relating it back to Notion, so this new project management tool, well, it's new to us.
Yeah.
Thinking and using, one of your considerations has got to be right away. Are they going to be here in 4 years, or are they going to turn into Google Hangouts?
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, we did have a quick look. We have kind of learned a bit that lesson a lot, which I think is just worth mentioning. First thing to check on any new service that you decide to use is, can you get your data out, and is that data usable?
Yeah, and it's one thing Jake is checking out for us today properly.
Yes.
As well. But I think the other thing to look at when using a new service is like how much people have invested in it.
Yeah.
Because relating it back to WeWork, there is this idea that something may not be profitable, and if you're taking business analysis to it, you probably should stop doing it. But there's so much money tied up in it, it can't fail.
Yeah, too big to fail.
I think that in trying to come up with a strategy for us, so do we build our own platforms, rely on others? I think it's got to be a mixture of them, and assessing each one by the value that they give you.
Yeah.
So first question we always ask is, what's the monthly cost for this platform?
Yeah.
How much are our subscriptions going up every week?
Yeah.
And then you stumble across a new platform and you're like, oh, but that does what 3 other platforms do in one. That's really exciting. Suddenly we can save 20 quid a user per month or something.
Yeah.
But then how much time is it going to take you to translate over to it? And will it even be here in 3 weeks?
Yeah. Annoying. Yes. I hope you're not expecting an answer.
I am, yeah. I am expecting an answer.
Oh, no. Don't know.
Okay, I think we should look to our original mission statement. It's probably not too far off. Is like, pick a niche so video, music, marketing, and the market where you know the audience, and then make digital tools and products for them.
Yeah.
That solves the problems that we've had all our lives.
Yeah.
Business problems.
Yeah. I think you're always under some kind of threat, aren't you? Relating it back to using a digital audio workstation, for instance. I was using them in the 90s,
Yeah.
And for a long time, I was a Cubase user, actually.
Yeah.
And Ableton came along and changed everything. I haven't used Cubase since.
Similarly, in video world, it's weird in the video world. There's a lot of very ancient pieces of software which are kind of still there, and I think mainly because everyone uses them already.
Yeah.
And you've got the talent pool to use them. And what I found really weird is how a tool follows a particular market. So it's so bizarre. If you like video editing as a thing, if you go to the TV world, it's all Avid.
Right, yep.
If you like the creator world, it's changing a bit now, it's all Premiere. Or the corporate world, it's all Adobe Premiere.
Yeah.
And then if you go into films and commercial world, it's Resolve.
Right, yeah.
And they all do very similar things, and they're quite, like they will not budge from it. So in the TV world, if you can't use Avid, you're probably not going to work.
Yeah.
It is changing. So my point is that I think people get used to a certain set of tools, and they're considered to be the professional things that you use.
Yeah.
And I think you got to be mindful of that when deciding where you're going to put your development time.
Yeah, I mean, there is also, you do have market concerns where that's concerned with collaboration with people.
So in the TV world, trying to find people who are competent and happy to use Resolve was really difficult.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we should move on for that and go, we're undecided about what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to use a mixture of open source, paid for, and building our own tools.
Yep.
And
hedge your bets. That's what we're doing, man.
Yeah, we're going to hedge our but basically, we're not going to make a decision. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
At this point in time, we're not going to make a decision. We just know what the issues are.
Yeah.
And you know what, Paul? That's good enough for me.
That'll do.
That'll do. Sting! Right then, I'm going to use a digital software development term now.
Go on.
So we're getting to the end of a sprint to launch our first product.
Yeah, we are.
So that's coming up next week.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll manage to get that launched.
Yep.
I haven't really heard about any big new upcoming AI releases, although we were meant to get Gemini, which is Google's new model, in October. So it's still October.
Yes.
But I haven't seen that. Maybe that will land next week, and then everything we've just learned and the processes we put in place will be immediately obsolete.
Yeah. Maybe we should put some up at the head of this podcast. If Gemini has been released, don't bother listening to
Yeah,
this.
don't bother listening, because it's all irrelevant now.
Yeah.
I know you find this funny, but we're going to sign off now. If you want to, you can follow us on Twitter, which is @MeatPuppetsPod, where we'll be sharing this and obviously bits of AI news as we come across it. We've got a YouTube page as well, which is called the Meat Puppets Podcast, where we post the podcast, but then also do some tutorials, which I apologise are really bad at the moment, and me and Paul are going to have an argument about that later down the line. Anyway, and we've also got a LinkedIn page, which just feels weird saying we've got a LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
Spent my life avoiding it, but we're on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you updated your profile yet, Paul?
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Did it say you still work at the Den?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
right, so maybe not look at Paul's LinkedIn page.
No, I'll get to it. I'm gonna put a little link at the top now. I will get to editing this soon.
Right, we're gonna open the next episode by reading your LinkedIn page.
Yeah.
Is that all right?
No.
Okay. All right. Bye, Paul.
Bye.